From ABC News, live in Times Square, Tuesday, January 17th, 2012. This is Good Morning America with Robin Roberts and George Stephanopoulos.
And good morning, everyone. Good to have George back with us. And all eyes on this particular scene right now in the race against time to see if any of those 29 people still missing could still be alive, trapped alive on that Carnival cruise liner. And you can see divers are setting off those explosives both above and below the waterline.
That's right. And the missing still include this American couple we're going to show you right now. Jerry and Barbara Heil. They're a retired couple out of Minnesota, raised and educated 4 children. This was supposed to be their dream vacation. Of course, their family still holding out hope that they'll be found.
The children talk about how they sacrificed for their children, putting them in school, and that this was their time to travel around the world. And there are new pictures emerging of the chaos that happened as people raced to evacuate the sinking ship. We are learning so much more about the captain this morning. He is in court right now, and our Brian Ross is here. He's going to have those details. But let's get right to ABC's Lama Hassan, who has reached the Italian island where all this has happened, and the ship is right behind you, as we can see. Good morning, Lama.
Good morning, Robin. Yes, this morning underwater divers have located the second black box. They're working right now to bring it back up to the surface. And the search and rescue operation is the most difficult for them because, as one described it to us, as being like a labyrinth down there. So much so they've had to bring in specialist cave divers to help. Rescue teams are still searching for survivors above or below water, blasting through the hull for better access to lower decks where more than 24 passengers and crew may still be stuck. These new photos show divers inside the ship wading through upended tables and debris. One diver, spotting an uneaten cake, told a newspaper the experience was the last moments of life on board, replayed before us. Facing danger themselves, divers say they can hear the screech of steel every time the 114,000-ton vessel shifts around them. 29 people are now reported missing, including a 5-year-old girl. That's 13 more than reported on Monday. 3 families came forward saying they haven't heard from loved ones initially on the evacuee list.
If there are someone still alive, we will hope to save them, to rescue them.
Adding pressure, fears of an ecological impact, concerns that 500,000 gallons of fuel on the ship could seep into the ocean. Rescue boats are already protectively deploying boom around the vessel. And now, new indications that the captain of the ship might have veered 4 miles off course on purpose. The sister of a waiter on the ship reportedly posted on Facebook, "In a short period of time, the Concordia will pass very close. A big greeting to my brother, who finally gets to have a holiday."
This is terrible. Absolutely terrible.
This infrared video shows people lined up like ants trying to escape Friday night by holding hands, forming a human chain to get to the boats below. From the angle of the ship, you can see how difficult it was for the crew to lower the lifeboats into the water and just how close it is to the shore. For those who did jump, it was only a short distance to get to safety.
It was chaos because we had to go through the center of the ship.
In these newly released videos, passengers seated in the lifeboats are heard trying to figure out who was responsible for the accident. One woman says, take pictures, take pictures. It's very important to discover whose fault it is. Well, just moments ago, we heard a very loud explosion. It was a controlled explosion to open up a hole in case the underwater divers need to escape. George?
Okay, Lama, thanks very much. As you heard, the ship's captain is facing possible criminal charges for deliberately steering the ship off course. And he's also being accused of abandoning ship before all the passengers were secure. ABC's Brian Ross joins us now. And Brian, that's about the most dishonorable thing a captain can do.
Absolutely is. In fact, Italian prosecutors this morning are pushing hard to put the captain, Francesco Scattino, on trial and behind bars, building a case that his behavior was reckless, cowardly, and deadly. The 52-year-old captain was brought to court this morning from the jail where he's been held since Saturday. Italian prosecutors say the growing evidence shows he was responsible for the accident and then failed to protect his passengers. Captain Scaitino has claimed the ship hit uncharted rocks and that he acted honorably. We were the last to leave, he told reporters. But that's not true, according to an Italian newspaper account of a Port Authority radio transmission to the captain. Captain, this is an order. Now I am in charge. Get back on that ship and coordinate the operations. There are already casualties. Captain, how many? Port Authority, you should tell me that. What do you want to do? Go home? Now you get back on that ship and tell us what can be done. How many people are still there and what do they need? Captain, okay, I am going. As a captain for the Costa Line since 2006, the year the Concordia was launched, the dark-haired, debonair Scaitino was described as a favorite with passengers, especially women. But if it is true that he and other officers fled the ship, leaving passengers behind, it would be a clear violation of what is regarded as the first law of the sea.
The captain is the last person to leave a sinking ship. I find it very hard to understand how any captain under such dire circumstances would elect to leave his vessel.
The Costa Line says the captain was wrong to steer so close to the island, although this video from Italian TV is said to show the Concordia, horns blaring one night last August, sailing within a few hundred feet of the island. Of course, the Costa Line says was authorized and approved in advance. Prosecutors say Captain Scaitino went beyond authorized procedure and was a reckless showboater, ultimately raising questions about the cruise line itself and who it hires to captain its ships.
They want to screen out the risk takers. You want to screen out the hot doggers. You want to screen out people who are not willing to take responsibility.
In a published account this morning, a cook on board the ship said a full half hour after the incident, the captain was still asking for his dinner and drinks. He was seen with a female companion, and he reportedly demanded to know where his companion's dessert was. Prosecutors this morning said they plan to bring manslaughter charges, which would bring a prison term of at least 15 years. George and Robin.
All right, George, Brian, thank you very much. Joining us now are Arthur and Alex Beach. They were on that cruise ship, and it's very good to have you both with us here this morning. And let me ask you your reaction to hearing that the captain may have indeed taken the ship off course on purpose, Alex.
I did hear that this morning, and that is terribly troubling. I have been concerned about his actions from the very beginning, and I feel there is some liability there.
And the captain, facing the charges that he is, and the fact that so many said that he left the ship early, both of you, how do you feel about his actions in particular?
Well, obviously there's an investigation that needs to be conducted, and if he violated the rules and policy, he should be penalized for it in whatever manner is appropriate.
I believe he delayed the evacuation order, and that is what cost lives. If he had ordered it immediately, they could have lowered all of the lifeboats on both sides of the ship, and they could have gotten everyone off. And so I think his actions caused the loss of life.
And tell us about the actions of the crew, Alex, after the accident happened.
I thought they did absolutely everything they possibly could to help us. They had no direction, and obviously they hadn't faced something like this before, but they stayed with us and helped us as best they knew how. And so I don't have any complaint with them. We saw no upper level leadership at all, and that is where I think the fault lied. There was no one giving directions from the officer level on the ship.
Thankfully, you both were able to make it to a lifeboat. Alex, can you tell us what happened once you were in the boat?
Well, it took 5 tries to get in. We kept going to lifeboats, and they were already full, and people were pushing and shoving and screaming, and there were some jumping on the lifeboat even though it was already full. We got to the 5th one, and it looked like we were going to get on, but you really did have to be aggressive and push your way, and Art was behind me and pushing me forward, and when we got to where we could get on, I heard someone and say there are 9 spots left.
And I know that your family was very, very concerned about you, and including your nephew, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who's an actor on Modern Family, and he called you from the Golden Globes to make sure you were okay, Alex?
He did. When we got home on Sunday evening, we actually got out of Italy and to Barcelona, I think, sooner than many of the people did. And I got home and I had a message from him.
Yeah, your nephew and other family members is very, very relieved that you're back here and that you're safe and sound. Well, Alex and Arthur, thank you very much for sharing your story with us this morning. We certainly do appreciate it. And you all take care.
Our pleasure. Thank you.